Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Fan Interference with Wichita Wingnuts manager Pete Rose Jr. Fan Interference is a weekly program that gives you, the fans, the opportunity to ask the Wichita Wingnuts skipper questions about the Wingnuts, baseball or sports in general, or just seek Pete's wisdom about life events that are going on. In this week's program, Pete talks to us about the incredible performance of Alex Boshers this season. He shares with us the steps his team needs to make to win a championship this year. And does Pete believe that Josh Robertson could beat him in any sport? Let's find out on Fan Interference.
So we want to welcome back manager Pete Rose. Pete, let's first of all start with your team updates for us.
Team updates, Todd Kibbe had a little shoulder problem, so we shut him down. Tyler Kane, who we had signed, he pitched in the NBC tournament here in Wichita. He was with the Marlins. We signed him, and Harrison Kane's back off the disabled list, and we put Richard Brigantano on the disabled list. He has a little cyst on his hand that he's going to get injected, and still may be a possibility if we get fortunate enough to play in the postseason. But other than that, we're making it along. We've been home. We've been home for a week, so that's been something unusual. We haven't been on a bus, but the shocker is we get to get on a bus on Thursday night after the game and go 14 hours. So stay hot. Here we come.
Nothing like those long bus rides.
Nothing like them. They're the greatest of all time, and I hope you can hear my sarcasm.
Well, let us jump into this week's fan questions, because we do have some questions related to that, as a matter of fact. The first one comes from Frank, who would like to know, are you confident that the roster you have will win a title?
Oh, of course. I mean, I was confident from day one with what we had coming out of spring training, and to see these guys come into their own and have their own identity and really play for one another. I love coming to work every day with these guys, and I love going to war with these guys. It's a great group of kids to be around, and they're going to do what they do, and where the chips fall, we don't know yet. But you know what? I love my chances. I mean, I wouldn't want to go to war with anybody else, especially with what I have in there. So absolutely, definitely.
Jill from Wichita would like to know. She says, I know there are a lot of good pitchers in the league, but would you be surprised if Alex Boshers was not the top pitcher?
I would be surprised, but I mean, to think about, where he's come from. I mean, he started in the bullpen this year to be our number one starter. I mean, I think there's a couple other guys deserving. I have a vote, and obviously I'm going to vote for my guy just because I get to see him on a daily basis. But what a year he's had, and like I said earlier, it's all these guys is a preparation, hard work, and determination that's finally paying off for him. But he's had an unbelievable year, and I think, for him to come out of the bullpen at the beginning of the year, to start the year in the bullpen and then end up being one of our guys is just a tribute to, how much work he's put in and how hard he's worked. So I would definitely be surprised if he doesn't get it.
The most amazing part, I think, 12 out of 13 decisions for victories.
It's amazing on what he does, and he throws strikes. And the thing is if I had to put a blueprint for what kind of pitchers I would love to play behind, he would be one of those guys. I have two of them. I would play behind all of mine, actually, but I mean, two guys that they go out and they throw strikes. Him and Tim Brown. I mean, if you look at their walks and you look at their strikes to balls, I think the last game you were up in St. Paul when he pitched that day game, I mean, you look at his strikes to ball ratios with both years, it's just it's off the charts. And you know what, when you have a defense like we do and you pitch your contact, good things are going to happen, and he's done that all year.
Joe from Wichita would like to know. He says he knows everyone seems to be high on Winnipeg's offense, but how can they overlook the Wingnuts? Two of the top guys on hitting in Cleveland and Chavez, and Cleveland is just getting healthy. You guys are stacked.
Let them keep overlooking. That's fine with us. But if you want to, and don't get me wrong, Winnipeg has a great offense, and Tom does a tremendous job up there in Winnipeg. He's their hitting coach, and those guys swing the bats. But if there's a runner on second base, and my life depends on it, that it has to score. You could take 9 of my guys. Better yet, you could take probably all my position players. I'd love to have them up there in a situation to get the run in. But let them keep overlooking us, because these guys they come to the ballpark ready to hit, and they hit, and they've been doing it since we rung the bell back in May. But they can keep looking over us, and that's fine with us. We're not going to worry about that. We're just going to keep going out and having good at bats. But I know one thing: our guys can hit, and I've seen it all year, and it's just been a joy to watch.
I want to correct. I think I said Cleveland and Chavez when it's Kane and Chavez, who are
Sure.
1 and 2 in the league. That's pretty impressive, I would say.
Well, it's very impressive, and it's even more impressive when you throw in Cleveland, and you haven't even mentioned Middlestat, or you haven't even mentioned Cox, or Stringer, or Pricatano, or Vargas, or Dean. I mean, it's just, or Medina, and then now we have Stratton. I mean, it's just, I like our chances, especially on the offensive end. I mean, these guys, never count our guys out, just because, I've seen it all year to where games we've lost, we've had the time run either at the plate or on base, giving ourselves a chance either at last at bat or whatever the case may be. So, I love what I see with, out of our guys on the offensive end.
Connor from Mills would like to know from you. He says he listened to last week's show and wanted to know if you've established your pitching starting rotation now that you're so close to winning the division.
No, I'm not yet. I mean, we got to win first and foremost, and I'm sure from talking to you the whole year, you probably know I'm kind of superstitious, so I don't really like to talk about things that haven't really happened, so I don't want to jinx anything. But I think we have an idea, but, we got to win first, and we got to get in the dance, and I think once we get in the dance, we'll figure out how we're going to go at it. And I think the good part about that is, our guys on our staff, they'll take the ball if it's on 1 day rest, 5 day rest, 10-day rest. But, we have an idea what's going to happen if we're lucky enough to make it, but we got to make it first.
Pete Rose Jr. superstitious? That's totally news to me.
Yeah, exactly. Coach spent a week with me. You'll see. I eat the same thing. I go to the same place, same Starbucks. I do everything the same. Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Ian from Wichita would like to know, do you watch to see how other teams are doing each night?
You know what? If you ask anybody, especially my coaching staff, you get a stat pack every morning. I come in and I throw it in the garbage because I really don't care what other teams are doing. I just care about my guys, and we just got to worry about ourselves and going out and being on time and playing the game the way we're supposed to play it. So I've never been a scoreboard watcher. I think it does you no good. So I really don't watch what other teams do, and I don't really care what other teams do. I just worry about us first and foremost, and that's the main thing. And, I throw the stats away just because I don't really feel like looking at them because, you know what, it all that matters if we win or lose that night, and if we come in, we're going to play hard and we're going to be on time. I think we've done that, and, it's worked out pretty good for us.
Here's this week's most interesting question. Will from Lyons says, I am sure you would gladly take on any team in the playoffs, but I'm wondering what you would think about playing Monday in Laredo and then having to open up in the playoffs in Gary.
Well, Robert, there's our travel again. There's a thing called airplanes. I don't know if anybody in this league has heard of them yet, but they have these things. They have wings on them and jets, and they get you there really quick. But that's a tough one. I mean, that's a tough question because you don't know. Do you sit on the bus for 20 hours? Or do you come back here and you play the first 2 games here? I mean, it's something that if that were to happen, you'd have to sit down and talk about it. But that's really rough. I mean, if there's 2 days off in between, okay, that's a no-brainer for us. But especially when they get to finish at home, they don't have to travel, they don't have to do this, and we're supposedly have the home field. I think it's a disadvantage just because we're sitting down in Laredo, which is 14 hours away just from Wichita, and then you come here, you got to go another 12. So, if it does, like I said before, I think my club is the only club that's built to be able to do that, from being on the road the whole month of August and having a crazy schedule. So we'll have to figure out what, when that bridge comes, we'll have to cross it. But I definitely wouldn't like it. Let's just put it that way. I think the travel, it sucks. I think in the playoffs, if we're sitting down there in Laredo and we got to go somewhere, I think that the league should fly us.
I think that's really tough that you have to make a decision based upon your travel and not what's in the best interest of how you'd like to stack that playoff round.
Sure, and that's a disadvantage just because on where we end the season. I think it's we're the furthest place south. To end the season. You look at everybody else; they're ending their season basically close to where they're playing. Except I think for Joplin, they got to go to Gary and finish the season. The season in Gary. But I tell you what. Gary, from Wichita to Gary is a nasty 12-hour trip, and it's not an easy one. At least Laredo's a straight shot, but, I think we're at a disadvantage just because we're down there. But, like I said, it is what it is. We can't do nothing about it. We just got to cross it when it happens, and we'll figure it out as we go. But I'm with you. I think it shouldn't be based on travel. I think if it's over 10 hours, they should fly, especially in the playoff round because, hey, the regular season's over and you're playing for the hardware, and I think you should level the playing field. But when a team's got to sit on the bus potentially for 20 hours and do it on an off day, I don't know if that's fair, but I'm not gonna, if we have to do it, we have to do it. It's really nothing we can do about it.
Tanner from Derby would like to know, who do you think is the team that most stands in your way to winning a championship?
That's a good question. I don't know. Us. I think if we just concentrate on, what we do on a daily basis and we do what we do, I like our chances. But, once again, we got to make sure that we get in there first and figure out from there. I mean, every team in the league can beat any team in any given day. So I think we just got to worry about ourselves and go out and play the way that we've played and get guys over, get guys in, throw strikes, play defense. And that's the thing. We're not going to change on what we've done. If we're lucky enough to get into the dance, we're not going to change. We're not going to change the way we play. We're not going to change the way we come to the ballpark. We're not going to change the way that we do things around here because, that's what we did. We did do things the way that got us here, and we're going to keep right on going through. However rounds. If we get in there, we're in, and we're going to give it a shot. But I think ourselves would probably be our biggest, hamper. But with the kids I have in there, I think that they're just going to keep doing what they've done all year, and that's being themselves and playing the game the right way.
Mike from Wichita would like to know, why does it seem that Joplin plays so well against you guys?
They got a really good team. I mean, that's the thing is they battle. I mean, they're young. They play hard. They play aggressive. They have some really good players. It's just one of those things. It's usually like that. One team has another team's number. If it's not two teams, whatever, throughout the whole season. But you just got to tip your hat to those guys just because they come and they play and they play the game the way that it's supposed to be played, and they play hard every day. And we've been fortunate the past couple nights to get victories.
The thing everybody seems to be talking about, Jim from Augusta would like to know, could Tim Tebow be a Wichita Wingnut?
I think he could be, but if I were to sign him today, I don't know where he's going to play.
Very true.
I mean, with what I have and I get to put on the lineup card every night, I don't really see him cracking in the starting nine at any time soon. I think it might take a couple years before that would happen. But I'm a big Tebow fan. Obviously, I love watching him play football. He's a winner. I think you would love to have him in your clubhouse regardless. But what I get to put out there every night, I just don't see him cracking our lineup. So, I mean, if he wants to come sit on the bench, he'd be more than welcome to. But I don't think he would want to do that. But we don't have any room for him right now.
I'm curious from your standpoint. Everybody talks about, obviously the guy's an incredible athlete, but is being an athlete after you haven't played baseball in 11 years enough to get you kind of back in?
I think by his workouts, I think it warrants somebody giving him an opportunity and let him go to instructional league and see what it's like. I mean, they gave MJ a chance, and he went Double-A, and he struggled, but he gave everything he had, and I think Tebow would do the same. I mean, if you watch his workouts, of course he needs a lot of work, but he's been a football player. I mean, to be able to play two sports at a high level. I mean, you're talking Bo Jackson as an athlete, Deion Sanders types. I mean, those guys are few and far between, but what I saw yesterday and all the videos and stuff, I think definitely has a chance, and it's just a matter of somebody giving him an opportunity. I think somebody will.
Champ from Emporia would like to know, is it that easy to be thrown out of a game?
It's very easy to be thrown out of a game. You just got to know the right words to get thrown out of a game. So, yes, it is easy, but you never want to get thrown out of a game. And like I think we talked about on your show, I think this year was the first time I ever got thrown out because of something that happened to me. It's usually sticking up for my guys, and that's what happened last night on a ground rule double that should have been a triple and an RBI for Van Stratton, but it didn't work out that way. So I got to come in and watch the Chronicles of Riddick on TNT last night during the second half of our game.
Well, now we turn to the Dr. Pete portion of the show.
Here we go.
Amanda from Wichita says, my husband has not been interested in me very much lately, and he told me the reason is because I am fat. I know I am heavy, but he is no lightweight either. He's in the wrong here, right?
Absolutely. I think if that's what you're worried about, then I may want to go look somewhere else. But you can both get up, start moving around, and start doing stuff. If that's what he wants. But tell her I wouldn't change and keep doing what he's doing.
Our last question of this week comes from Jerry from Wichita. A second question from Jerry. He says, last week I wanted to know how many sports Josh would beat you in if you were competing in the decathlon. Could he beat you in any sport?
It's funny. It's funny you asked that question because he just happened to walk into my office as we're sitting here talking. But to answer his question, if me and Josh were in a decathlon, I think he could beat me on walking back to the locker room. That would probably be the only thing. Everything else, he would have no chance. And he's staring at me right now with like a glare. But don't let that bother you. He has no chance on any events in the decathlon.
Could he beat you in any sport though?
He could beat me probably in. I was gonna say like maybe ping pong. Definitely not bowling. Definitely not tennis. Swimming maybe. No, you know what? I take that back. He could probably beat me in a cannonball tournament.
That's awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us this week, Pete.
We want to thank Manager Pete Rose Jr. for joining us on Fan Interference this week. If you have your own questions you'd like to ask the Wichita Wingnut skipper, please send them to us at askpete@minorleaguesportsreport.com. That's askpete@minorleaguesportsreport.com. Please have your questions to us by Sunday evening so we can give the skipper a little time to review them before we record the show. I'm Rob Pannier, the managing editor of the Minor League Sports Report, and we'll see you next time on Fan Interference.